Hello, my name is Keith Bartman with PictureDirect.com, and today we're going to talk about how to run Windows on a Mac. It's a lot simpler than you think. You need to install an enabler like a virtual machine or Mac's Boot Camp, and then install Windows, and finally install the applications that you want, like our software, Picture Director for Windows 3.0. So what do we mean by enabler? We mean software that enables you to run Windows on your Mac. There's 4 different choices here. 3 which you can run Windows at the same time as you're running Mac software, and then another option which you can only run one or the other at a time. So out of those 4 options, I chose VirtualBox. Why VirtualBox? Because it's free. I like free. Let's compare the options. So you've got VMware Fusion and Parallels. They're pretty much very, very comparable, and I would not really recommend one over the other. I think it'd be best for you to go to their websites and see what they have and choose from there. Do a little research. So anyway, I mean, if you want the premier solution, one of those 2 would be it. But again, for me, VirtualBox, it works great. It's reliable and powerful, and they say a lot of good things about it, and I've experienced that. And then Boot Camp, again, I would not choose that just because I want to be able to run the Windows apps and the Mac apps at the same time, and you can't do that with this. So there's a website for each of them, which we'll show you now. So Parallels is one of the 2 paid options. It's $79.99 for the Home Edition, or the Power User is $99.99. Looks like a great product, again comparable to VMware Fusion. However, I would encourage you to take a look at both. And VMware Fusion, it's the other paid option, again on par with Parallels. They say that it delivers the ultimate Windows on Mac experience. And so I would encourage you again to check them out, compare them against Parallels, and decide for yourself. And again, if you don't want to pay, then let's talk about the next option. So Boot Camp Assistant. With Boot Camp Assistant, you can either run Mac or Windows and restart to get to the other OS. So for me, that's not really something I want to do, to restart it. It's like you have 2 computers and have to stop one to get to the other. So I don't like that. VirtualBox. I know what you're thinking. Looking at the website, it looks not so good. However, I would not judge their product based on what their website looks like. There's many people that work on this. It is a community-based effort, and they do a fantastic job with the resources that they have. And it's worked great for me. It's reliable. I run Windows all the time on my Mac, and this is the solution I use. And so then next we're going to talk about how you do that. We're going to do a live demo of installing VirtualBox, then installing Windows within that VirtualBox, and then finally installing Windows applications. As I said earlier, there's 3 steps. Step 1 is installing VirtualBox. Then step 2 is installing Windows. Then finally, step 3, installing your Windows apps. Installing VirtualBox. Their website is www.virtualbox.org, and then it's wiki downloads. And these links are all in the description of this video, so you don't need to remember that. Just, or if you're following along, you can type it in. So let's go ahead and go there. All right, so we're on their page, and underneath the platform packages, it says just select OS X. This is for Mac OS and OS X. Most people should be running Mac OS by now. I'm not sure why they haven't updated that, but their software, even in the description, it says Mac OS. So let's save that to the downloads folder. And I already have it there, but we're downloading it again, so I'm just going to hit replace, and it's going to start downloading. Alright, it's finished downloading, so now I want to just go ahead and install it. So for me, I'm using Chrome. Whatever you're using, I'm going to click Show in Finder, which takes me to the Downloads folder where it downloaded, and I just double click on that. It takes it a second, so if you double click on it and nothing happens for a second, just wait a second or two and it'll start. So the first dialog you're presented with after it starts is this VirtualBox.package. Just click on that. And again, just give it a second or two. And then close this window. And you'll see your bouncing icon. And so it's going to check to see if it can be installed. And it says Mac OS here, so we're good. Click continue. It's going to check this, ask you where you want to put it. I'm going to click here. Just let it take the defaults. It's going to ask me for my password or Touch ID, which I use Touch ID. And then the install begins. And that's it. VirtualBox is now installed. Installed, we need to download Windows 10. So I already have their website open here, but this is the link. And again, all the links are going to be posted in the description of this video. So, alright, so this is the page, and I need to select the edition. I'm going to select Windows 10. There's only one option. Click confirm. And then it asks the language. I want English. And now I click confirm. And choose the 64-bit download. And then it's going to ask you where to put it. Let's just go ahead and put it here. And then it begins downloading. And we're not going to stay through this because it's going to take a little while to download. So we'll come back when it's done. Okay, Windows 10 is finished downloading. Put it in the downloads folder. And so we're going to verify that's there. It is there. And now we're going to start VirtualBox. So I went to the applications folder. There it is. Double clicked on it. Brings you here where you want to select new. I have one that I created earlier for Windows 8, but let's create a new one. Call it Windows 10. And click continue. It's got 2 GB, and it recommends that size, but I think you need to bump it up, so I'm going to bump mine up to 3 GB. Click continue. I want to create a new one, so that's the default. Click create, and I want it to be a VDI, which is the default. I click continue. Dynamically allocated so it doesn't use up all the space on your hard drive all at once, and you've got a little more space free. Click continue. I'm going to leave it at 50 GB, which is the default. And so it's going to then ask you to create it. You click create. And so we're all set. Windows 10 is now a machine. It's not, Windows 10 is not installed yet. We still need to take that file that we downloaded from Microsoft and get that to be installed inside of this computer, your virtual computer or virtual machine. So we double click on that. And it asks you for the file. So we want to find that file. And by default, it's going to say this, show this VBox Guest Editions ISO. Well, that's not what we want. So let's click here, go to our Downloads folder. And there it is. I'm going to click Open. And click Choose. And then click Start. And it starts in a small window, which I don't like. Let's see if we can scale this bigger. And I think it's because I'm on a Mac, and you will be too, but on a high def Mac. So let's change this to 200%, and that should that should make it a lot bigger for us. So you want to do that if you want to burn your eyes trying to look at this thing. So, all right. So we'll take the defaults here. That all looks good to me. And click Install Now. And it runs through some setup stuff. I'm going to pause the video for a second while it's doing. So after it goes through that initial setup stuff, it wants a product key. Now, I don't have a product key, and you don't need one initially. However, if you want to continue to use it after you've tried it and it seems to be working for you, then you'll need to have that product key. And the way you get that is go to Microsoft's website and order or download, get a product key that you can buy and purchase Windows. Windows is $139 for the Home Edition if you buy it directly from Microsoft. There are other choices out there where you can buy it for a little less than that, but it's not really too awful expensive. So I'm going to click I don't have a product key, and we're going to say Windows 10 Home. I don't know what Windows 10 M is. Let's look at that. It doesn't tell us. So anyway, let's check Windows Home. Click Next. And I'm going to accept the terms. Click Next. And it says, do I want to upgrade or custom install Windows only? So upgrade, install Windows, and keep files and settings. Okay, this option is only available when a supported version of Windows is already on the computer. So we have to do a custom because we don't have that on there. So we'll use that drive. Next. And then it begins going through and installing the file. So this will take a while. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video for a second. Still going. Phone features went really quick. Now it's installing any updates. Done. Now it's finishing up. It's going to restart in a few seconds here. Now it's restarting. It's ready, getting ready. Okay, so it's doing another restart. A couple restarts or 3 before it's finished, but it's just a matter of waiting. It's really not that long of a process. Very soon we're going to have Windows up and running on our Mac. Lastly, if you want to set up Cortana, she's here to help, she says. To wait for Cortana, or Cortina, however you say it, to do some welcome stuff, and then it's on to the basics. It wants you to select the region, which is the United States. So I turned off voice control because honestly on a Mac with VirtualBox you don't really want to use any of the audio stuff. It works, but it's not like your native audio on the Mac. Now, I imagine Parallels and VMware Fusion might do a better job with that, but for my use, I don't really need the audio. the microphone, I should say. Welcome, then basics, and now it's on the network. You shouldn't really have to do anything here. Let's find out. Or let's just create an account. How about that? On our email address. Click next. Give it a password. I don't want any promotional stuff, so I'm going to uncheck that. Call it whatever. So we'll go ahead and create a pin. Ask you for privacy settings. I don't want. Okay, it asks me do more across devices with activity history. I don't want that. This. Do it later. And then it asks you if you want to use Cortana to help you do things, which is their voice assistant like Siri. But I don't want that. And I would recommend that you don't use it either for on a Mac with VirtualBox. When they tell you you're getting ready, it might take several minutes. Don't turn off your PC. Okay, so next we're asked a few questions here. Looks like Windows is ready to roll. Do I want my PC to be discoverable? I'm going to say no. Running in a VirtualBox, I don't think you want to. So let's click no. Okay, we have Windows up and running. Now there's one additional thing that you should do. You'll notice that my mouse is kind of jittery, and when I leave out of the virtual machine, which is here, then I have two mouse cursors. When I come back in, it shows it again. So you can synchronize those so it does not do that. So if we go to Devices, Insert Guest Edition CD Image, and then so that's done. Now if we go to the folder, okay, there it is under this PC, Network Edition CD. So if I double click on that, then it brings me up the files that are in there, and I want to install VBox Windows Editions. If I don't do that, then it's going to be jittery. So I'm not sure that they couldn't do that already, but anyway, that's the way it is. So if I click next, click yes behind the other windows. So let's click next and leave the defaults. Next, install. So this kind of gets it prepared more for the native look and feel of Windows. Without it, like I said, this mouse thing might whoops, I clicked out of that. So let's say install. So the screen goes black a few times while it's initially installing this. And it's done, and it asks you to reboot. So let's go ahead and finish that. And it's going to restart. I'm going to stop for a minute. It just shows you a pretty picture with the time and the date. And if I click the screen, then it asks me for my PIN that I set up earlier. You just type in your PIN and let it get started. So I'm going to hit pause again for a minute. Installed. So it all looks good here. I'm not sure what happened there. I must have clicked on that by accident. So it's up and running. Now there are a few tweaks that you'll need to make, but let's go ahead and talk about them now. You might get a notice message at the bottom of the screen that says need to verify your account to make sure that you own it. I'm getting this because this is the first time I set up a Microsoft account. So I'm going to go ahead and get that verified, and I'll be back in a second. That wants me to enter the code, so I'll just go ahead and enter that. I can close this dialog, and I should be all set. Now there are some settings that I would adjust if I were you, and let's go over those. Okay, so let's go over these settings. So under devices, I like that you have the clipboard shared between the OS, between the Windows and the Mac. So I choose bi-directional so that you can copy and paste between them. And then drag and drop is an option. I typically don't select that, but if you want to, that's fine. But let's just leave that off for now. And then remember earlier when we inserted this guest edition CD image and ran that application to install that, what that did for us was it enabled this feature up here, which is mouse integration. So with that feature on, when I go over to an area that's not part of Windows, this is a Mac application running here, and I go back, the cursor changes color, but they stay in sync. You'll notice how before that wasn't happening, and it looked really kind of quirky, and I mentioned that everything was jittery, so that fixes that. So that's basically it. Now, in terms of your view, you can go to full screen mode, and it should automatically adjust the screen. So now it looks like your Windows, and of course you can go back and forth between your Mac and your Windows computer with the 3-finger swipe across your touchpad. So that's it. Now we have Windows up and running. Now let's talk about, okay, let's go ahead and install Picture Directory for Windows. So installing a Windows application, our last step. So I go to picturedirectory.com. Let's go to downloads, and let's download it. Say run. So it's going to download it, scans it for viruses. And it says, hey, do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device? Security feature they have built in for all the apps. So I'm going to say yes. And then it brings up the install dialog. Click next. Accept the agreement. Click next. Use the defaults. Click next. Click next. Let's create a desktop icon and install. And it's done. So we're going to leave it checked as launch and start Picture Directory for Windows. So we don't have the registration code yet because we're just going to try it out. Just click register later. And you have an application installed in your VDE. So, in your virtual machine, I should say. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something. And again, thank you. Have a great day.